Association Chat, the podcast where we gather by the virtual fire to explore the topics that matter most to association leaders and professionals. I'm Kiki L'Italienne, your host and guide through today's inspiring conversation. And we are indeed going to be inspired. I think we really will be, because today I'm joined by Rick Harris. He's the CEO of the Association of Proposal Management Professionals, APMP. And we're going to talk about how associations can explore and uncover new revenue opportunities through creative strategies and innovation. With over a decade of experience leading APMP and a well-earned reputation as a nonprofit growth expert, Rick brings a wealth of actionable insights to the table. And so that's why I'm excited to talk with him today. I've already had a chance to talk with him a little bit, got really inspired, realized I wanted to talk to him about like 3 different things. So you're probably going to see him again. I'll go ahead and tell you that now. But here we are. Rick, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much, Kiki. I really am honored to be here, and thanks for inviting me around the virtual fire. It feels warm on a very cold day.
I mean, I hope that you're just, if you're listening to this later, you don't see it, but we are like rubbing our virtual hands right here in the camera frame, just so you know that we're warming up for our conversation today. So, look, you've been leading APMP for over a decade, and you have learned a lot in that time. And I think that one of the things that I thought was really interesting, just in talking to you, was finding out a little bit more about your background. So before we jump into talking about looking at new revenue streams and everything like that, what drew you to the role that you have now, and what inspired you to just become this leader in the association space?
Well, one thing, if you back way up, it's I have had 2 careers. I've had one in radio and television.
Which you can hear that, can't you? I'm interrupting you. I'm so sorry, but I'm so rude. But like, you can hear it, right, folks? I mean, amazing presence just in your voice. There's such a resonance there.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So radio and TV, and I did that for about 13 years. Mm-hmm. And then I moved to DC. And I didn't think I wanted to work in radio and television anymore. It's a grind. It was hard, specifically back then. And I felt like I had done everything that I wanted to do, was looking for a job. Weird story. Was in a Fridays, and somebody there I was looking through the want ads, which you did at the time because you didn't have tablets and internet to search. So I was looking through the want ads, and someone came up and said, "Hey, you looking for a job? What do you do?" And I told the person that I was in marketing. I had been in radio and TV, and I was looking for marketing positions. And she basically said, "Well, I have an association. I think you'd be a great fit," after a very short conversation. And thus, I stumbled into the association profession, and it wasn't long before I just knew I loved it. It was the place to be. And I could take all of what I had learned from radio and TV and poured it over to this great, great new industry to me, but one that had been around, of course, for years and years.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, I mean, in talking with you, the passion comes through. And that's why I thought when we got on this topic, talking about looking at new ways to uncover, new ways to look at revenue and looking at revenue streams, certainly that is a popular topic for associations right now, that for many associations and many association leaders, looking for other alternatives to just membership dues for figuring out like what are our options, or looking at creative ways to think about membership dues. How do we look at our value proposition? So, what I wanted to ask you, as far as where we're looking at finding that innovation is, how can associations use creativity and use innovation to discover these revenue opportunities beyond traditional methods like events and memberships?
I think traditional is the key word. And associations tend to get rutted or, in a loop, so to speak, for what they've done year after year after year after year. So we know that membership is an important revenue stream. We know that conferences, trade shows is right there neck and neck, or one leads and the other is number two. And the question is, where are you going to find your other revenue? Most associations have education, certification, webinars, et cetera. But where are you going to do that? And when I came into AP&P, I looked at the landscape of what we did, which is it's basically we teach our members how to write the best bids and proposals to win new work for their companies. So they're very much in a marketing position. But the association had enormous pride over its academic standing within the association. And so I started thinking, it's a disconnect. This is not an academic field like maybe medicine is, or how it's important to medical associations, et cetera. This is a marketing. This is a business. Mm-hmm. Turn that around and look for opportunity by business. So what I would say first off is know where you want to be and what your culture is. I felt like that we had a mismatch when we came in, that we were very much into revenue generation as an industry, as a profession, but we were focused on our academic standing and how we comported ourselves as an association. So you're not going to change things immediately, but you start looking and say, okay, how do we build the community? How do we look at creating profile and moving away from that stodgy, old, at least for this association, very academic, rigorous background, and move it into a marketing and this is the most important part, while having fun. Because when you have fun, when you introduce fun into an association, and I know for some people, they may be like, oh my gosh, what is he talking about? Fun. Yeah, you can have fun in an association and you'll get noticed and you'll get press coverage and you'll get more members and you'll be able to do more. And that's what I looked at. How do you match and marry those two entities? So that is the first thing I'd say. Know what your business landscape is, and then apply it to where you want to go. And it's really important to know your members and what they have a tolerance for and what they may think is too much or too little. And I'll bet that most of you land right in about the right spot. Doesn't have to be all fun and games. It doesn't have to be all, hypey marketing, but what it has to do is deliver the revenue for your association. Yeah. We are so different than we were in the 50s and 60s. I mean, Kiki, how many times have you heard nonprofits are supposed to break even at the end of the year? We still hear that. It's crazy. No, a nonprofit really runs like a for-profit these days. And the reason is because you're out there competing with so many different organizations, whether it is the consultant community, whether it is the magazine industry, who come in and create trade shows that associations traditionally do. So the thing is, and competition is good. It just helps you as an association leader become sharpened and also deliver more for your thing. And I always say this, and I'll stop in just a second. I always say the same thing. When I think the radio and TV background helped drive this, because I was under ratings every quarter, every 6 months and every year. And if you lost, you left. So I never liked losing, never did. I lost one time and I was released. Not a good feeling. So what I do is I say, okay, what is the parameter? What is our measurement and how are we going to make it, meet it, and the most important thing, beat it?
Well, you said something that really hit a note with Brenda out there who says fun is key. Yes, Brenda, I think so too. And I want to go back and talk a little bit about how you introduce that element of fun. When you talk about fun, when you're talking about really getting to know your members and actually getting to know that culture that you purposefully built within your association, where did you start? What did that look like? Tell us a little bit about some of the stories and how you sort of got that off of the ground and really made that sort of take flight.
I worked for an organization called the National Association of Brick Distributors. Mm-hmm. I mean, can it get any more boring than that? At least the title, the industry was fantastic. These are the people who put bricks on homes, buildings, etc. But a brick is a brick. So, you look for opportunities to promote in areas and places where you're not well known, particularly as an association. Most associations are known within its community and a little bit from the outside, unless you're one of the real, the top 25, 50 associations. But you get below that, most people don't have an idea. So I was watching one weekend MTV, and I noticed that all of their videos, or a lot of their videos, had brick backgrounds. Got together with our staff and I said, let's do the Brick Video Awards. Let's have an awards ceremony for all of the artists who are creating videos that have bricks. So we did little write-ups, etc. We sent it in, we talked to MTV and said, hey, we got an idea for you we think might be good. We only wanted it to be a little story on MTV News, and it ended up being a multi-year thing. And it culminated with an award ceremony. We had Amy Grant, Iggy Pop, Salt and Pepper. They all came. Most of them said the same thing. I don't even know why I'm here, but our manager said it was fun and it was probably a good idea for me to be here because of good promotion. Yeah. We had every major media cover us. For a little association like the National Association of Brick Distributors, that fun event put us on the map. Did it sell more brick? No. Did it help people understand where NABD was at the time? Absolutely. People got that we were now the brick experts. We had other media calling us to get our comments on what was happening in the brick and the building industry. So it all paid forward like that, but it was also sponsored. And it was also, we sold a ton of merchandise to high school kids who didn't know who we were, but they wanted that t-shirt. And for a while we were out there. Those are kind of the fun things. And the other thing too, Kiki, and the one thing that I think that everybody in the audience will agree on is people love to compete. So if you can set up any kind of a competition, people will compete in. I'm not talking about the traditional awards programs. Those are great. We just did a survey at APMP. Only 5% of our membership find value in the traditional awards program that we do. But that's okay, because that's 5% you're recognizing, and it's an easy program to do. But how can you get a bigger share, a bigger market share of that in another competition? So when I was with the National Association of Home Builders, heard from an idea from a member, which I think is amazingly important. You've got to listen to your members. They have all the ideas. And they said, wouldn't it be great if we could do some sort of a competition at our largest trade event, the National Association of Home Builders Builder Show? Wouldn't it be great if we could have that competition? We went back and we engineered a competition called the National Nail Driving Championships. First year it was in a small room, about 150 people participated. By the last year, we had, it was sponsored by Stanley Tools at over $1 million a year in sponsorship. There were tournaments to earn your way in. And then they built a big ring in their booth, and they built a stadium where we could have this. And we had partnerships with Longines Timing, all the big sports folks. We had that partnership, and of course with Stanley Tools. And people, we also gave our members, the ones who were the winners, a championship belt and a cash prize. They all said the same thing. I care more about the belt than I do the money.
I was going to say, I wish I had a picture of the belt. Oh, now I need to see it. As soon as you said that, I'm imagining, what does this thing look like?
That's incredible. It was great. It's like a heavyweight championship belt. The guys walked around and with it over their shoulder. And this was the, kind of the culmination of a lot of work. And I remember my CEO, my boss at the time, says, well, what's next? What can we possibly do with this? And I said, easy, women's division. We want to make sure that the women have a chance to compete, the women builders. So we brought them in, made them part of the thing, same prize money, same belt, so same everything. And it just became a thing. That's how you have fun. And you get the word out there. ABC's Good Morning America, the weather people used to come out once a year to cover it, just do a little stand up at the National Nail Driving Championships. So it became this silly thing. And the other part of it, Kiki, is when it's over, when you've ridden the horse and you feel it tired, get off the horse and go find a new one. That is so important. Know when it's time to leave that promotion. Don't be so in love with it that you make it tired and traditional. Always have something fun.
So I actually have a follow-up question to that, because that is really hard to do. And I do think that maybe part of the problem that a lot of association leaders get into, we fall in love with our darlings. We fall in love with our scholarships. We fall in love with the way that things are set up. And, it's really hard to let those things go. We just kind of we think more marketing, more promotion is going to reinvigorate this effort. How do you know? How do you know when you've been on the horse for too long?
All I can tell you is the energy starts to fade. The excitement starts to fade and dim a little bit. And the key is you look for that dimming, and that's when you get off of the horse. Wow. And take it out to the pasture. So if people go, yeah, I think I may be there, or you may see me there or not, that means it's not high on their priority list anymore. And that's okay. Most of these programs that we're talking about here are 2, 3, 4, 5-year programs at the max, and time to put them out to pasture, because all you're doing is you're making room for something that's new when you do that. And your audience now is conditioned to wait to see what you come up with next. There's where the excitement is. The excitement is in the bridge. So what I say is, as soon as you feel that energy, as soon as you have a sponsor or two say, you know what, we're going to go in a little different direction this year, get off the horse, come up with something new.
Wow.
Keep that business rolling, keep those ideas rolling. And that's why you have to brainstorm, and you have to listen to your members. They have all the ideas.
So what are some of those listening methods that you have? Because you've talked about listening to your members, and you've talked about listening to your staff as well. So aside from, passing someone in the hall or standing next to them and just happening to be in a discussion where they're giving you some insights, are there any other ways that you go about purposefully collecting this information? I mean, keeping
committee meetings, Kiki. Yeah. There's people are talking about new things and new ideas in committee meetings all the time. When you go to the conference, make sure that you meet with as many people as you can. One of the things that I do, and I still do it, and I know it sounds folksy, and I still go to table at the lunchtime. I go to table and thank them for coming. And then I just ask them, hey, what would you do to improve the industry? What would you like to see? Oh, the ideas just roll and roll. So it's just a little impromptu time like that. We set up something, we created something called APMP TV, which is really where we put all of our educational programming, and then you watch it and you get CEUs. But we also have other programming, and we have programming that we would like to try. We're even talking about, not a soap opera, but like a telenovela for the bid and proposal industry, an entertainment program on APMP TV. There are some people going, why would you ever do something like that? My answer is it's fun, and we need for all the actors in our association to have a chance to perform. So it's one of those things that the ideas are everywhere. We got the APMP TV idea from a member who said, gosh, I wish it was all in one place at one time. I didn't have to go anywhere else to look for it. And that's how we came up with that. But there are many opportunities, the one-on-ones, and anytime I'm talking to a member, I always ask them three things. How's your family? How's business going? What would you do to make any changes in the industry, in APMP? What would you like to see that's not currently being done? You ask those three questions, and you're off to a great conversation.
I love that. This is so helpful. And by the way, this is the season for it. Now, I know if you're listening to this at another time, which is totally possible, you can still use this at any time of the year. But right now, it happens to be in December when we're going to a lot of holiday parties and we're meeting with a lot of people right now. And what a great piece of advice that is. That wisdom is excellent. I'm actually, after this, just in the early afternoon, going to be at an event, and I'm going to use that, Rick. I'm going to use that information.
I'm telling you, it's great. The ideas are there. All you have to do is uncover them, and our staff knows to execute them. You mentioned earlier about talking with staff. Mm-hmm. What I really focus on, not that we exclude any staff, but what I focus on are the younger staff, because they have ideas. They also have ideas that are quite different than the ideas that I have. As I start to mature in my career and in my life, some of the technology that hasn't quite stuck with me. So I want to be closer to the younger people on our team, and they have come up with idea after idea after idea. And when we produce it, they're heard. They know they're seen, but it also puts them on a path to become a director, to become a VP, to potentially be a CEO of an association. So you're bringing them all in, but what you're also doing is you're reinforcing. Your idea is important to us. We need to raise revenue. We used your idea. Your idea raised this much revenue for the association. Thank you so much. What else do you have? And it's so people on our staff come to us with ideas all the time. Members do. We have a thing in our association. People often say, why did you partner with this company to release this report? And it's like, okay, well, this research costs money. These companies pay for it. They came to us with the idea. Bring us your idea. We'd love to hear it. Mm-hmm. And all we're doing is trying to make sure that everybody knows, get in the circle, get under the tent, let's jam, let's network, let's brainstorm, and let's produce ideas that earn revenue.
Well, and you actually touched on something I wanted to ask you about, which is partnerships and the way that you look at those. I think any association leader would look at partnerships as being a key component of association success. But I think that sometimes, just like we were talking about ideas, that maybe we get into some sort of a rhythm, and we forget to start getting creative about the way that we think about our partnerships. I think that can maybe happen with partnerships too. So do you have any advice for forming and maintaining partnerships and different ways to look at partnerships that maybe some of the association leaders listening to this might be able to learn from?
I do. It's a great question, because there are two types of partnerships, and we've all heard them. Hey, we're XYZ Association, and we want a partnership with you all so that we can sell more membership. Let's do a reciprocal agreement. Let's do some events together. Let's do webinars together, and let's split the revenue. To me, as soon as I hear that, I'm out. I don't want to have anything to do with that kind of a partnership, because I know me and my team will work relentlessly to make that program, that event, do what it needs to do. And I don't want to half the revenue with a partner that is often smaller than where we are. Mm-hmm. Let's be honest. Who are most of your partnership ideas coming for on these types of partnership angles? associations that are smaller trying to gain a footprint. What we're interested in is partnering with companies, either in our membership or companies that we want to be in our membership. And what service or what a piece of research can they provide that will benefit our members and add to our bottom line? And that's what I think about. So I've had, we've all sat through the board meetings. Hey, we need to partner with this group and with this group. And I listen and I stay silent and I say, okay, well, we'll look and we'll see if there's a business case for it. 99% of the time, at least in my experience, there's not been. It's why divide revenue? When you can control your own revenue, go out and form your own partnerships from your perspective of what you want to get out that benefit you and the company that you're dealing with, you're talking to. So just this last year, AP&P has partnered with 3 companies. And we've driven in over $100,000 in revenue off of those partnerships, either by sponsorship, by report sales, et cetera. It's a great thing when you are strategic about your your partnership, and not just saying, yeah, sure, let's all work together. Let's have kumbaya. Those other associations are looking for your market share. Protect your community and your market share and look inside of it in the companies that you want to help grow. And that to me is the number one thing. Look either inside or outside in companies that you want to work with together. We did that with Microsoft. We started partnering with them. They're a huge part of the bid and proposal industry, and they didn't really have a footprint with us. Well, now they do, because we've got them doing things with us, partnering with us. That's a kind of company that we want to have in our membership, and we do now. So you got to constantly look and say, what does this partnership serve my association? And if so, how? And if revenue generation is not the top line on that, how? Pass it over. Move on.
Okay. Amazing. Well, the association landscape always seems to be changing. And one of the ways that I think that association leaders look for some of these ideas and some of the creativity is picking up on trends. And I mean, we have things like AI, which is bigger than a trend. It's a technological shift in the way that we do things. But I think that there can be a danger sometimes in getting distracted by trends and not actually identifying creative ideas that may be right there in front of you, despite what the trends are. How can leaders stay ahead of this and sort of make better decisions about identifying when there's a good idea to really pick up the thread on and run with, versus getting distracted by shiny object syndrome?
If you're looking for trends, all you need to do is to watch the media. I'm an avid reader of Harvard Business Review because it is loaded with data on trends. You get to see what's happening 3-4 years before it happens. So you can start to strategize where you want to be, or if you see something that's immediate, you can jump it and do it based on that trend that you see right now. Talk to CEOs that are inside of your member companies. Find out what they are thinking are the trends and see if you can match it up. And the most important one, I think, and we all have them, it's how we utilize them, are these strategic plans that our board puts together every 3 to 5 years. It is a gushing of what they want and where they think the industry will be. They're the experts. As association leaders, sometimes we can delude ourselves in thinking we're now an industry expert, but heck, I've worked for bid and proposal. I've worked for the AV industry. I've worked for the home building industry, the wireless infrastructure industry. I'm not an expert in any one of those, but where I am an expert and what I'm proud of being an expert is how to run an association and make it profitable so that it grows and grow a community. That's what I'm proud of. And I think you have to look at those kind of conversations, lots of reading on what you think is going to be, and then trust your gut. You got to look for the opportunity. And what I say, and I say this to every single member of our staff, we need to look around a corner. It's easy to look straight ahead, but what's around the corner that we think is going to come out? I will tell you, 95% of the time, what we produce hits. It works. It comes in at most of the time over budget, sometimes way over budget, budgeted forecast. So most of it does because we're looking around the corner. We're taking those trends that we match up in Harvard Business Review. And in fact, I learned this from Adele and Chip, who are part of the Convincing Company. They showed me how to put together a trend. I use it every day now. With this, you have this stat and this stat, you match them together and it becomes that. Yeah. And that's how you start thinking. You get in that mindset of where you're going to go. And then you look at, okay, well, who are my partners on this? Partners meaning sponsors, investors in this. Who are they? How do I think my audience, or my customer base, which we refer to in our industry as our members, how I think they're going to react, come up with a plan and produce. And I'll give you one example. We looked at the after the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. We knew, and I'm not a political guy, but I knew that was one of those defining moments in the country. And we looked at our offerings and we said, we need to have an event by for women, no men involvement. One, to let them talk about it. Two, to let them vent, not about the overturning, but about their position in the industry and how they see themselves graduating through the industry. We came up with that idea. In 6 weeks, we had a program that earned a tremendous amount of money for the association, where now we're doing more women's education and we're doing more things for our membership as a result. And we've had it now for 3 years. The excitement has waned. It's going to go on the shelf. But what we're going to take are all those good ideas and filter them into other APMP programs. I will tell you this, and I want to share this with you, Kiki. I was at an event for the Washington Capitals many, many years ago, and I just walked right up to Ted Leonsis and I said, tell me what your philosophy is. You're so diversified. What is your philosophy on earning revenue? And he looked at me, he goes, interesting, great question. He goes, take what you have. Take whatever you have and see if you can break it down and have it earned in 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 more ways. In other words, if you have a membership, membership is your big thing. Well, how can you earn not just on dues, but how do you earn in other ways? So we started tracking that, mind mapping. What are our products? What are our services? What are our programs? And how do we elevate the industry? And how do we elevate the member? By earning in several different ways. So we don't just make money off of membership dues. That's one way. What we do is we look at 2, 3, 4, 5 different ways of how can that contribute to APMP's overall goal. The long-term goal is for the community to get bigger, for more programs to be generated, and the most important of all, and this is why I did this, got into this industry 36 years ago. Can you take a group of people and can you help move them to the next level in their careers? That's what I think an association is. It's taking the members who invest in you and improving their professional and their personal lives through resources, education, networking, but that's kind of surface talk. Do they make more money because they're with you? Do their salaries increase? Are you helping them to move forward? Everybody wants to support a group that helps them like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I think that I'm preaching to the choir, right? But I mean, I think that ultimately when it comes down to people and how they think about your association. Are they better off because they're a part of it, where it can tangibly impact their lives? And if the answer is yes, that they can see that this has a direct effect on their lives and it improves it, of course they're going to maintain their membership. Of course, they wouldn't think to not, because they don't want to lose the ability to make more or to attain more or to grow in their profession, leading to a better life. And so there are a lot of people who are, because of shifting demographics, because of the way that things are changing in the world, there are a lot of new leaders stepping into roles like being executive director or CEO, and having to learn new things about leadership and about governance and about how to lead organizations like you've been doing for a while. And so for some new leaders who are coming in, association executives, maybe in that CEO or executive director position, who are just starting out and they're wanting to drive innovation and growth, but they're also not wanting to shake things up too much before they understand their surroundings. What advice would you give to them? Because certainly they want to do a good job. They want to be innovative. They want to make these changes. But they're probably also trying to study themselves as they're moving forward and be smart about it. So what's your advice to them?
You're 100% correct. And I'll tell you the story that I had when I came into this association, and I tell it all the time. So it's not embarrassing, but it's accurate. When I came in, I knew I wanted to make changes, and I started to. And I got a lot of pushback from people early on. And you can't do this. You can't take us away from academia. You can't. It was you can't. And I said, hey, why don't we do this? Why don't we just try it? And finally, I had people in the very first year calling for my job, the very first year. And I just contacted those people and I said, hey, look, you and I, we have a different philosophy. I have a philosophy that I think will absolutely work. You don't think it will. Give me a year. If it doesn't, I'll see you later. If it does, then we just move forward. We move on. Well, in that year, we hit all of our targets, well exceeded our targets, because it was a blank, clean slate. The difference is, Kiki, I wouldn't have done so much that first year. I would have feathered it in more. So what I would tell the new exec now, look for those one or two things that can be your signature, your innovative way of realizing new revenue, your fun factor. Feather it in instead of coming all in with 5, 6, 10 ideas at one time, and then build on it. The other thing is to look down below you. Who are your lieutenants that are going to help you? Who are your workers that are going to work tirelessly to get this done? And we have a phrase in our association. What we're looking for is people who are relentless on the goal. And so you've got to surround yourself with that mindset. I think there are two types of association people. There's probably many more, but the two I see, it's the money tree people who just look and they say, okay, well, the money's there. We want to do this. We want to spend this. It's the money tree that the money just regenerates and grows every year, cash. And they're the people who plant the money trees, and they plant many, many money trees. And those are the people that I want on my team. And those are the people that we look for. You don't have to be a super salesperson. You don't. But what you have to do is to say, I'm committed to the growth of this association, this profession, this industry, to make lives better for the members that we serve. And at the same time, I want to make sure to drive in the revenue. Those are not mutually exclusive. They're linked. They're linked together with such a strong bond. You can't fail when you have that mindset. You just cannot. And so look for those employees who are not let me take from the money tree. Look for the employees who are planting money trees for your future. Those are the ones that you want. We now have a staff. I think when I came in, we had It was me as a full-timer. We had 2 part-timers. We now have 14 people. And we're going to be moving to likely 2 or 3 more in the next couple of years. We have a growth plan for people. We know when we're going to bring them in and come on based on programming that we have. So again, if you're taking a look at your strategic plan, you're reading every line in it, and you're innovating new ideas, the other way you hear yes from the board a lot is when you match it to the strategic plan. And that's what I would tell every new executive to do. Map it to the ideas and the words that the board has and show how you're going to help them cross that off of the list, how you're going to help meet that strategic goal and do it. From an employee perspective, everybody knows that we do stretch goals in this association. So, and I'll give you an example. When I came in, 2 or 3% membership growth was considered good. What we ended up doing is saying, no, it needs to be 5% because you're moving in a direction that matters when you do that. First year, we got 10% plus.
Wow.
12 out of the 13 years that I've been at AP&P, we've gotten 10% plus because our entire team knows to work to it. There are no excuses. We don't say, oh, we're running out of people. No, it's a giant world. There's a ton of people to talk to. So what we have to do is devise strategies on how we're going to talk to them, how we're going to bring them in under the AP&P tent and get them to partner with us and work with us and contribute to our profession and our industry, which, by the way, will help them out as well. They'll sell more product, et cetera. So if we can take a look at as a young executive, every year, the strategic plan is right by my desk. All I do is look at it constantly and go, this will answer that. And then I know when I go to the board meeting and ask for it, I make sure to tell what the idea is. I create a little position paper for it. And then I show at the bottom what strategic plan or multiple plans that it addresses. You can't, it's one of those things where you go in and you're organized that way. By the way, I do want to tell you, and I'm a little bit bragging. The one year that we missed the 10%, we were 8.5%, but it wasn't 10. And I told our group, hey, if it's not 10, it's we did good, but we didn't do great. So let's try to be greater next year. And
wow.
And that's how you do it.
That is incredible. and
nobody feels pressure. They just want to help because you've set a tone of your expectation. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. I've been just sitting back and sort of basking in all of the stories, and we've had a number of people who've been commenting. I always love the people who are watching live that are able to comment. So first of all, LinkedIn user says, love that focus on industry partnerships, which drive revenue, Rick. Brenda says, exactly, ensuring alignment with the strategic plan is key. And Lauren, hi, Lauren. Lauren says, connect the dots to an easy yes with decision makers. Yes, absolutely. Your words have just been resonating. I know with me, for the people obviously who are watching right now, and hopefully for the people who will be listening and watching later. Rick, I know that you're going to be writing an article. This is a little selfish, I'll say that, plug for Association Chat Magazine. This is the latest issue. But for the next issue of the Association Chat Magazine, I have managed to get Rick to agree to write an article for me in the next issue, which will be coming out in February. So be on the lookout for that, everyone. Rick, thank you.
We'll talk about these type of ideas in the article, but we'll also be more tactical and give some examples and give some formulas to look at and execute.
I just want to thank you so much for being a part of this and joining me. As I had mentioned before, when we spoke the first time, I was like, tell me what you're passionate about. We went through several different ideas. And I'm telling you, folks, if you're listening to this and watching this, oh my gosh, this is just a sample of some of the great ideas and topics that Rick can talk about. So Rick, thank you again for coming on and joining me. And I will be holding you to it to join me again.
Absolutely. And I will say this, you got everybody out there, you got 1,000 ideas in your association right now. Go find some and convert them to revenue.
So great words. Thank you, Rick, so much. And thank you, everyone, for joining me today on Association Chat. Listen, I cannot thank Rick enough for joining me. And I can't thank actually Adele. Rick had mentioned Adele Sears. She's with the Convincing Company, connected us. We had our discussion, and the rest, as they say, is history. So in today's conversation, Rick Harris, he shared invaluable strategies for uncovering new revenue opportunities. He talked about aligning staff performance with organizational goals. And we also talked about fostering collaboration so that you'll have better outcomes and actually have more fun in what you're doing, which will lead to greater revenue. And you see how this all kind of comes together. I want to thank Rick for sharing his wisdom and sharing his advice and also inspiring us so that we feel like, hey, there's a little bit more creativity we can bring into this and everyone's going to benefit for it, and also showing us how. So it's one thing to have ideas. It's another to know which ones are the good ones and how do we move forward, and how do we know when it's time to leave some of those old ideas and move on to the new ones. So as always, as I like to remind everyone, keep asking questions to learn every day, because as Joseph Campbell once said, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. Have a great rest of the week, everyone.